The silent warning, the galaxy was vast, filled with countless stars and endless voices. Yet in that wide silence, one message traveled like fire through the dark. It came from Earth, the world the Empire once thought too small to notice. The words were not long, not poetic, not hidden with soft language. They were simple, sharp, and final. Our borders are clear. Do not cross. You will not survive. The message reached the Imperial Senate first. The chamber of stone and steel echoed with laughter. Senators raised jeweled hands and called the humans arrogant. A young race, a fragile world, a civilization barely 2 centuries among the stars. How dare they speak with such sharp tongue to an empire that ruled for 10,000 years? But the laughter did not reach every corner. Some senators leaned back in silence. Their eyes followed the recording again and again. The human envoy had not spoken with trembling voice. His tone had not carried fear. It was calm, steady, and cold. It was the kind of voice that spoke truth, not bluff. In the highest palace, the emperor listened as well. His golden crown heavy upon his head, around him, advisors filled the air with easy words. They promised quick victory. They reminded him of past triumphs. They told him humanity was too small to matter. The emperor smiled, but deep inside, something in the message disturbed him. Humans had not begged. They had not asked for peace. They had not asked for mercy. They had only drawn a line, far across the stars. In Terran space, silence ruled. Human fleets no longer made open patrols. Stations gave no public signals. The trade lanes that once carried metal and food were empty. To the Empire, this silence looked like fear. It looked like retreat. They believed the humans were hiding, waiting for rescue that would never come. But within the dark, the Terran fleets moved in secret. Their ships trained in silence, their weapons aligned in deadly precision. Generals spoke little. Soldiers sharpened their focus. They all remembered the last war. The cost, the graves humanity had learned. Humanity had prepared. Humanity would never be weak again. On one world, a Terran admiral stood before his crew, his voice steady. They think we are afraid. Let them think it when they cross the border. They will learn. His words were followed not by cheers, but by silence, the silence of soldiers who understood death was near. The silence of men and women who accepted their fate. The Empire, blind in its pride, moved closer. Scouts entered Terran border systems. They found ruins of old stations, abandoned mines, empty colonies. They reported with mocking tones, "The humans have fled. They leave the stars for us." The Senate laughed again. The admiral smiled. The Emperor gave the order to advance. Yet hidden eyes were watching. Every move of the Imperial fleets was tracked. Every signal traced, every jump predicted. Humanity had built not only ships, but a net of silent watchers across the border. The moment the Empire crossed fully, the net would close. On Earth itself, cities moved in strange rhythm. Children played under skies where silent warships floated above the clouds. Factories burned with fire as weapons rolled from assembly lines. The people were quiet, but their eyes were sharp. They all knew the warning was not just words, it was a promise, and every Terran heart was ready to see it fulfilled. The galaxy outside did not believe. Neighbors whispered that humanity was reckless. Traders said Terrans were too bold. Old allies turned away in fear. No one wished to stand between the Empire and its prey. Humanity stood alone, and humanity did not fear. In the deep night of space, the first Imperial fleet crossed the line. 1,000 warships glowing under alien suns. Their banners high, their weapons ready. They expected no fight. They expected surrender. They expected another easy conquest, but across the void, the humans waited. Their ships hidden in the dark, their weapons warm. Their eyes fixed on the invaders, and in that still moment, before the fire, before the ash, before the storm, the galaxy held its breath. For the warning had been given. The line was drawn. The Empire's pride. The Imperial Senate stood tall in its endless chambers, golden pillars rising higher than clouds. Voices thundered against stone walls. Senators from 100 worlds raising their words in triumph. Humanity's warning was now nothing more than a joke to them. A race born yesterday dared to command the empire of 10,000 years. The insult was fuel for their pride. One senator struck the floor with his cane, his robes trailing like rivers of silk. "Humans forget history," he cried. "They forget that empires do not bow to children." Another rose, his jeweled crown glittering. "They think their words have weight, but words are dust. We will crush them." Laughter followed, loud and endless, echoing in every corner of the chamber. But among the voices, a smaller one rose. A senator from a border world, his face thin, his voice trembling. He said, "They may be young, but their silence troubles me. They do not shout like others do, they do not beg, they prepare." I feel it. His words were swallowed by the storm of laughter. None listened, none cared. In the grand war halls the admirals gathered. Stars glowed above the table. Maps of Terran space displayed like prey under a knife. Admiral Kor, with medals bright upon his chest, spoke first. "Their fleets are few, their technology young, their courage will not save them. We march and we win." Around him, voices agreed, hands struck the table. Pride filled the air like smoke. Still one commander at the edge of the room leaned forward. His eyes narrowed. "Do not underestimate them. They fought the Althan horde once and survived. They fought the silent plague on their colonies and endured. They are not weak. They are patient." The room fell quiet for a moment, but then laughter rose again. "Caution is for the weak," Admiral Kor declared. "The humans will kneel." In the palace the Emperor listened, his throne carved from the bones of past victories, his crown heavy with stars taken from conquered worlds. He let the voices of his advisors fill the air. They spoke of glory, they spoke of conquest. They promised easy triumph. The Emperor nodded, but his heart carried a shadow. In his private chamber, he replayed the human message again. The envoy's cold words cut through the silence. "Our borders are clear, do not cross, you will not survive," the Emperor whispered to himself. They believe what they say, but he said no more. He let pride weigh heavier than doubt. Across the stars, imperial citizens celebrated. Songs of conquest filled the air. Streets were decorated with banners. Children waved flags. They believed the war would end before it even began. Their pride was fed by stories of endless victories. No one questioned, no one doubted. Only a few old veterans sitting in silence remembered what it meant to face an enemy who had nothing left to lose. The fleets of the Empire prepared. Thousands of ships, each glowing like a small sun. Weapons polished, crews trained. Admirals boasted of how many days the war would last. Some said 30, some said 10. One even said it would take less than a week. The pride of the Empire was absolute, unshakable, and yet, in the quiet corners, whispers spread. What if the humans are not afraid? What if they are waiting? But whispers are weak against thunder, and thunder ruled the Empire. When the first fleet crossed into Terran space, the Senate held a feast. Golden tables heavy with food, wine flowing, musicians playing songs of conquest. They toasted to victory before the first battle had even begun. Their pride was blinding, their pride was deafening. Their pride was doom waiting in silence, for beyond the line in the dark humanity waited still. They had not spoken since the warning. They had not begged, they had not run, they were silent. And silence has power. The Empire chose not to hear it. They chose not to see it. Their pride was their shield. Their pride was their weapon, but pride cannot stop fire. And pride cannot stop ash. The galaxy watched. Divided between fear and arrogance, some races whispered that humanity was mad. Others whispered that the Empire was blind. But all agreed on one thing: the storm was coming. And pride would not save the mighty. The Emperor rose from his throne and gave the final command. "Advance." The word echoed through the stars. It was the sound of an empire certain of victory. It was the sound of pride walking into fire. His silence before the storm was almost over. First breach. The first breach came without thunder, without warning. 1,000 Imperial warships slid across the border like blades of light. They did not hide, they did not fear. They moved with banners raised, engines glowing like burning suns. The void trembled with their passing to the admirals. The silence of Terran space was a sign of weakness. Their scouts reported empty stations, deserted colonies, broken satellites left to drift. "The humans flee before us," one captain laughed. "They abandon their homes. They know their doom." Cheers filled the fleet channels. Songs of victory were played before the first shot was fired. But far from their sight, in the black shadows of dead asteroids, Terran eyes watched. Small ships, cold and silent, followed every Imperial movement. Their signals were whispers carried through hidden networks, every course, every speed. Every formation was marked, nothing was unseen. On the bridge of a Terran command ship, Admiral Rail stood silent, his crew moved without words. His eyes never left the glowing icons of the Imperial fleet. "They think we are broken," he whispered. "Let them believe, the longer they believe. The deeper they come, the harder they fall." Back in the Empire, The Senate celebrated. News of the first breach traveled fast. Banners were lifted in streets, crowds cheered. The Empire believed victory was already certain. The Emperor raised his cup in his throne hall. The sound of pride echoed louder than reason. But not all believed. In a forgotten tavern on a border world, old soldiers sat in silence. They remembered different wars. Wars where arrogance had led to ruin. One old voice spoke. "The humans are not fools. I fought them once in a skirmish. They fight with fire in their blood. They will not run." The younger men laughed. Dismissing his words, the old man only shook his head. Staring into the dark, the Imperial fleet pressed deeper. Systems that once held Terran miners were now nothing but ghost fields. Broken colonies spun lifeless around stars. Abandoned machinery drifted in silence. To the admirals, it looked like proof of retreat. "See how they scatter," Admiral Core declared. "See how they leave the stars for us." The fleets cheered again. Their pride swelled, but in that silence, Terran traps waited. Mines hidden in the dark, satellites disguised as debris, ghost signals woven through the void. Every abandoned ruin was not waste. But weapon, every silent rock was not empty, but deadly. The first strike came sudden. A cruiser at the edge of the fleet vanished in fire. Its explosion tore the silence apart. The admirals dismissed it as accident. A reactor fault, they said. A minor flaw. Yet moments later, 2 more ships vanished. Fire lit the black. Soldiers shouted in panic, and for the first time, fear touched the Imperial ranks. Admiral Core ordered calm. His voice thundered across the fleet. "The humans hide in shadows. They use tricks and cowards' tools. We are the Empire. We will burn their shadows away." And yet, his eyes betrayed unease, for every shadow could hold death. And the shadows of Terran space were endless. Terran ships revealed themselves slowly. They did not rush, they did not scream. They appeared like ghosts, engines dim, weapons alive. Their shots struck true, precise, brutal. Every bolt of fire found its mark. Imperial ships fell one by one, their wrecks spinning in silence. On the bridge of a Terran frigate, a young officer whispered, "They do not understand." Her admiral nodded. No, they never understood. They thought war was numbers, but war is will, and our will is iron. The Empire's first fleet fought back. Weapons lit the void. Battles burned between stars. Yet no matter how many shots they fired, the humans were already gone. Their ships moved like shadows. Always one step ahead, every Imperial tactic crumbled. Their formations broke, their pride cracked. Back in the Senate, reports arrived. At first they were hidden, softened by words of minor losses, but truth cannot be buried forever. One senator read the numbers aloud. Voices grew uneasy, laughter faltered. The shadow of doubt entered the chamber. Still, pride is a heavy chain. The Emperor refused to see weakness. He commanded reinforcements. "Crush them," he ordered. "Show them the power of the Empire." His voice was strong, but his heart trembled, for the warning echoed in his mind. "You will not survive." In the stars, wrecks of Imperial warships drifted like broken crowns, their flames fading into endless night. Terran fleets slipped back into silence, waiting for the next wave. Humanity did not chase, humanity did not boast. Humanity waited, calm and patient. The first breach was complete. The Empire had crossed the line, and in crossing they had already begun to burn. The trap unfolds. The Empire sent more ships, vast armadas that stretched across the stars. The admirals promised victory, their pride demanded it. Their fleets moved deeper into Terran space. Chasing shadows in silence, the humans watched. Their networks of hidden eyes tracked every ship. Every signal, every path. The more the Empire advanced, the tighter the net became. Terran commanders did not rush. They let the enemy sink deeper. They let pride drag the Empire into the heart of the storm. On a Terran command station buried under the rock of a dead moon, Admiral Rail stood before the maps. Thousands of glowing markers filled the screen. Imperial fleets glittering like false stars. Around him, his officers waited, silent. "They are inside the net," Rail said at last. His voice steady. "It is time." Across Terran space, silent orders moved like whispers. Ships woke from hiding. Weapons powered in silence. Minds armed themselves along secret routes. Stations that had seemed abandoned now pulsed with hidden life. The trap was alive. The Empire noticed strange signals. Ghost transmissions on their scanners, patterns that did not belong. At first, they dismissed them as errors, then ships vanished. Whole squadrons swallowed in sudden fire. Panic spread through the lower ranks. Captains shouted over one another. Admirals demanded answers. None came. On the bridge of an Imperial dreadnought, Admiral Kor struck the arm of his chair. "Cowards," he roared. "They run, they hide." They used tricks, yet outside his window, he saw burning wrecks, Imperial banners torn, soldiers screaming into the void. Tricks or not, death was real. The first great strike came at the Jora Passage, a narrow route between collapsing stars. The Empire had sent 2 fleets through, certain the humans would never dare attack such power. But the rocks of the passage were filled with Terran mines. Hundreds, then thousands when the fleets entered. The passage lit up like a dying sun. Ships exploded in waves. Shock tore through the Imperial lines. Survivors tried to flee, but the exits were blocked. Terran cruisers emerged from the shadows, firing with perfect aim. In less than 1 hour, 2 fleets were ash and silence. The Senate was shaken. Reports of the massacre filled their chambers. Some senators demanded retreat. Others demanded even more ships. The chamber split with shouting. Pride still clung to most voices. "The humans cannot fight forever," they cried. "They are too few. Their tricks will run out." But unease was growing, and the shadows of doubt grew deeper. The Emperor listened in silence. His eyes fixed on the flames shown in the reports. He heard the laughter of his advisors, but it no longer sounded strong, it sounded hollow. He thought of the warning again, and again and again. Meanwhile, humanity struck again. At Orel's Rift, at Darren's Gate. At the mining fields of Kess, each battle was not large. Not grand, but precise, every strike chosen with care. Every shot ending with fire. The Empire's fleets shrank piece by piece, cut down not by numbers but by patience on a Terran destroyer. A young captain asked her commander, "Why do we not strike all at once?" The commander smiled. "Because fear is a weapon. If they do not know where we are, if they do not know when we strike, their fear grows, their pride breaks slower, but it breaks deeper." And it was true, fear spread faster than fire. Imperial captains grew restless, crews whispered of ghosts. Fleets fired into empty space, every shadow became enemy. Every silence became threat. The Empire was mighty, but it was bleeding itself with fear. In the Senate, the border senator who once warned them rose again. His voice shook, but his words were sharp. "You laughed when I spoke, now their silence eats us alive. Pull back before nothing remains." His words were drowned again by the storm, but this time the laughter was weaker. The Emperor called his council. He demanded numbers, he demanded truth. At last his generals admitted what they had hidden. Entire fleets gone, commanders dead. Morale broken still, they told him to fight on. Still, they fed him pride. The Emperor looked into the dark sky beyond his throne. His heart whispered the truth. The trap had closed and the Empire was inside it. Humanity had warned them. Humanity had waited, and now humanity was answering. The trap was not only weapons, it was silence, it was patience. It was the will of a race that had nothing left to prove. Humanity did not shout. Humanity did not boast, humanity simply struck. And struck and struck until the Empire's pride burned to ash. And in the heart of Terran space, where the fleets gathered in silence, the humans prepared the next blow. The trap was not finished, it was only beginning. Fire across the stars. The galaxy burned. Fire stretched from one end of space to the other. Systems once silent now roared with the clash of fleets. Humanity no longer waited in shadows. The time for patience was done. The time for fire had come. The Empire sent its largest fleets, hundreds of thousands of ships, banners shining like suns. Admirals swore oaths of glory. Captains promised swift victory. Pride was still their shield. Pride was still their weapon. But pride could not protect them from what was waiting. In the void above the world of Kalis, the Empire struck first. Their fleets poured fire into Terran positions, believing numbers would end the war. But Terran warships answered with weapons the galaxy had never seen. Energy lances brighter than stars. Torpedoes that bent space itself. Their shots tore through Imperial lines with terrifying precision. Whole squadrons vanished in seconds. The admirals shouted in disbelief. "Impossible," they cried. "No young race can wield such power." Yet reality cared nothing for their pride. Reality burned their fleets. Reality left wrecks drifting in silence. Humanity had kept their secrets hidden until now, and those secrets were fire. On Earth, the people watched the reports. They did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They worked. Every factory turned to war. Every hand gave strength. Humanity was united in silence and steel. The fire in the stars was not pride. It was survival. At the Battle of Orvan Belt, the Empire deployed their dreadnoughts, massive ships said to be invincible. Their cannons lit the sky like storms. But the Terrans did not meet them head-on. They split the belt apart, detonating asteroids in precise patterns. Rocks became weapons. Firestorms of stone ripped through the dreadnoughts. Ships that had survived centuries fell in minutes. The galaxy watched in awe. The humans fight with the stars themselves. Whispers spread in the Senate. Panic finally stirred. Reports arrived faster than excuses. Fleets gone. Colonies abandoned. The border falling. The same senators who had laughed now trembled. Some demanded peace. Some demanded retreat. But others still clung to pride. "We are the Empire," they cried. "We cannot bow to children." Yet their words sounded hollow. Hollow like broken crowns, the Emperor sat in silence, his advisors argued, his admirals begged for more troops. But his eyes saw only the flames on the reports. He remembered the envoy's voice, calm and cold. "You will not survive." He realized then, the humans had never bluffed, they had promised. And now the promise was fire. The great turning point came at the system of Yaren Prime. The Empire gathered the largest fleet in its history. A storm of ships that blotted out the stars. Humanity answered with less than half. The galaxy believed this was the end. The numbers were too great, the power too overwhelming. But numbers were nothing against precision, against will, against silence turned into fire. Terran fleets moved like dancers among giants. Every shot struck true. Imperial formations shattered in the chaos. Humanity revealed their greatest weapon. A massive station hidden in the void. Its core unleashed a wave of energy that tore through space. Entire fleets flickered, then vanished into ash. The galaxy gasped. No race had ever seen such power. Some whispered it was forbidden technology. Some said it was madness. But all agreed on one truth. The Empire was broken. Still the fighting raged. Fire spread across the stars. Planets burned. Colonies fell. Skies filled with smoke and wreckage. The war was not won in a single strike. It was a storm of endless battles. Humanity did not stop. Humanity did not falter. Every step forward was marked in ash. In the heart of the chaos, Imperial soldiers began to question. They had been told the humans were weak. They had been told the war would be easy, but every battle proved the lie. Every loss broke their spirit further. Some whispered surrender. Others fled. Fear spread like fire. On a Terran cruiser, a commander watched the flames of Yaren Prime through his viewport, his voice calm. They thought the stars were theirs. Now the stars burned them. His crew stood in silence, not with pride, but with grim understanding. They were not fighting for conquest. They were fighting to survive. The war had become more than a battle between fleets. It was a lesson written in fire, a lesson the galaxy would never forget. The Empire had ignored the warning. Now the warning was carved across the stars. The last Emperor's words. The throne hall of the Empire was once a place of pride. It was carved with stone from 100 conquered worlds, its walls lined with banners of past victories, its ceiling painted with the stars the Empire claimed as its own. But now the banners hung heavy. Their colors faded in smoke. The stars on the ceiling looked like ghosts. The throne hall was no longer filled with triumph. It was filled with silence. The Emperor sat upon his throne. His crown weighed heavy on his head, his robes dragged upon the floor like chains. Before him, advisors argued with desperate voices. Some demanded more fleets, some demanded retreat. Some begged to seek peace before nothing was left. Their words filled the air, but the Emperor heard none of them. He heard only the echo of a voice from long ago. Our borders are clear. Do not cross. You will not survive. The war had torn the Empire apart. Fleets burned, colonies lost, wealth drained, hope broken. The once endless tide of soldiers was now a trickle. The once mighty fleets were now scattered wrecks. The Emperor had ordered more, he had demanded more. But the more he demanded, the more ash he was given in return. In the Senate, fear had devoured pride. The same senators who once laughed at the human warning now trembled in their seats. Some shouted for surrender, others cried for revenge. The chamber no longer echoed with power. It echoed with chaos. They had lost their unity. And without unity, the empire was nothing. The Emperor dismissed his council and sat alone, his chamber dark. The stars outside his window burned faintly. Some were already gone, hidden by the wreckage of fleets. He thought of the humans, of their silence, of their patience. He thought of how his own pride had blinded him. He realized the humans had never been arrogant. They had only been certain. In the ruins of the border worlds, Imperial soldiers began to lay down their arms. Some fled, some hid, some refused to fight. Entire legions vanished without orders, their faith in the Empire broken, their faith in victory gone. For every Terran strike was a reminder. The humans would not stop. The humans would not yield. The Emperor called for his last generals. They arrived broken, their faces pale, their voices carried no confidence. They spoke of losses, of ships that never returned, of soldiers who never answered. None spoke of victory. The Emperor asked them one question: "Can we still win?" None gave him an answer. They lowered their heads, and the silence was heavier than any words. On the palace walls, the people of the capital gathered. They once sang songs of pride. Now they whispered prayers of survival. Their banners were torn, their voices weak. They saw the truth even before the Senate did. The Empire was dying. At last, the Emperor stood. His voice echoed in the empty hall. "Bring me a recorder." The servants obeyed, placing a small device before him. The Emperor stared into it. His face worn, his crown heavy, he spoke, his words slow. "To the galaxy, hear me, we were warned. We did not listen. We thought ourselves eternal. We thought pride could shield us. We were wrong." His voice shook, but he did not stop. "The humans gave us a line and we crossed it. They gave us a warning and we mocked it. They gave us silence, and we filled it with arrogance. Now we burn, and it is by our own hand." He lowered his head. The throne hall was silent. His generals shifted uneasily. His advisors looked away. None dared to interrupt. None dared to speak. The Emperor raised his voice one last time. "Remember this. Remember their silence. Remember their fire. If the Empire falls, let the galaxy know. We chose death. Humanity did not seek us, we sought them, and in doing so, we destroyed ourselves." His message was sent across the stars. Some worlds heard it and wept. Some worlds denied it. Some worlds turned their eyes to Terran space in fear. But all understood one truth: the Empire was crumbling. The Emperor removed his crown. He placed it upon the empty throne. His hands trembled as he stepped down. He had ruled for decades. He had conquered countless stars. But in the end, it was not an army, nor a plague, nor rebellion that broke him. It was pride, and in the silence of his chamber the words echoed again. "Our borders are clear, do not cross. You will not survive." The Terran answer. The galaxy held its breath. The flames of war still glowed on the edge of 1,000 worlds. The wrecks of Imperial ships drifted like tombstones across the stars. Silence followed every battle. Silence heavier than the sound of victory. Humanity did not sing. Humanity did not celebrate. Humanity waited. The last Imperial fleets broke like glass, their admirals dead, their soldiers scattered. Some surrendered, some fled into the dark, others drifted forever in silence. The empire that once stretched across the galaxy was no more. Its crown shattered, its throne abandoned, its voice gone. Only ashes remained. The galaxy turned its eyes toward Earth. Fear spread in whispers. What would the humans do now? Would they conquer? Would they expand? Would they burn every world as they had burned the Empire? Neighbors fortified their borders, smaller nations prepared to bow. But humanity did not move. Their fleets remained in their space, their soldiers silent, their weapons quiet. In the great council chamber of Earth, leaders stood together. No one spoke of conquest. No one spoke of empire. They spoke only of survival. They spoke only of memory. The war had not been a march of glory. It had been a graveyard. Humanity remembered every name, every ship, every flame, but the galaxy demanded an answer. From the ruins of the Empire, from the ashes of the Senate, a single message came. Terrans, what do you claim? The galaxy asked in one voice. What do you demand? What do you take? Humanity's answer came as one. It was not loud. It was not long. It was not filled with pride. It was calm, steady, and final. Borders were clear. You crossed them. You chose death. That is all. The message spread across the stars, carried to every world, every station, every council. It was written into history, carved into stone, burned into memory. No one could twist it, no one could deny it. The truth was too sharp. The galaxy trembled, not because of human fleets, not because of human weapons, but because of human silence. For after their message, humanity said no more. They did not boast, they did not threaten, they simply returned to their worlds, guarding their borders with fire and steel. In the ruins of the Empire's capital, survivors whispered the Emperor's last words. We were warned. In distant taverns, traders spoke in hushed voices. The humans do not forgive. The humans do not bluff. Children on far worlds grew up hearing the story of the warning ignored, the fire unleashed, the Empire destroyed, the galaxy learned. No one tested Terran borders again. No fleet crossed without permission. No empire laughed at their silence. Humanity did not need to conquer. Their strength was known. Their will was carved in ash. On Earth a monument rose. It was not made of gold, not of jewels, but of stone and steel. It held the names of the fallen. It stood in silence. No speeches, no songs, only the weight of memory. Humanity knew the war was not triumph. Humanity knew it was survival, and survival came with a price. Generals stood before young recruits. They told the story again and again, not as legend, but as warning. Pride burns, silence kills, remember the Empire. And every young soldier listened and understood. The stars grew quiet again. Trade returned. Life returned. But the shadow of the Terran answer remained. It was the ghost in every council meeting, the fear behind every empire's walls. It was the reminder that one warning, if ignored, could destroy 1,000 worlds. And so the galaxy lived with caution, and humanity lived with silence, both remembering, both watching, both knowing that when the Terrans speak, they speak only once,